All right, so we're going to continue creating our iOS 9 Lucky Lotto Picker app. So in the first video, we laid out our user interface, which had just a simple set of buttons and a segment of control and some labels. In the second video, we created connections between our controller and our view objects. We created connections, action connections, that so when view objects are interacted with, the view controller would be informed of it, and we created a couple outlets so the controller could talk to the view object. So in this video, we're going to create our single model object, and then in the last video we'll make everything work together. So one thing I want to note though is a common error that happens when setting up these connections. Like, for example, this is a common thing that would happen. So if let's add another action between my pick button, and I'll create another action here, and I'm just going to call it foo. So now I've got this action, and what I do is I decide, oh shoot, I didn't want that connection. So what people will often do is they'll go and they'll delete it, right? And so now you'll notice something bad happens when you try to run your app in the simulator. Things will probably die, or at least when I hit the pick button, something bad will happen, right? Your app will die. Well, it's not dying. Oops. So when I hit my pick button here, sorry. Right, I hit my pick button, boom, something really bad happens. I get all kinds of, right? So things did not go well. So the problem is you went ahead and you deleted a connection. You deleted the method that for an action connection, but the connection is still there. So in this case, I can get rid of. If I select the pick button, I can go over here in the connections inspector, and I can see, sure enough, there is this other foo thing. So it's just deleting the method is not enough. I need to delete the actual connection. So now I can delete the connection there, and I can go ahead and run, and I won't get that nasty error. So make sure if you get errors like that don't be intimidated by those. Just make sure that if you delete a method or an outlet, an action or an outlet method, that you actually delete it in the connections inspector. So that's important. All right, we've got our controller now, and that's connected up to all our view objects. So now we're going to create our model object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, New, File, and what I'm going to do is this is going to be a user agnostic model file. So I'm just going to choose Swift file from iOS source, and I'm going to go ahead and call this Lucky Numbers. This is going to be the magic recipe for winning lotteries. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'll pop out of the assistant editor for a minute here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a new class called Lucky Numbers. And I'm going to have a property called numbers that's simply going to be an array of ints, and they're going to hold my 6 lucky numbers. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and initialize it to 6 numbers just for fun. And so that's going to hold our 6 lucky numbers. And then I'm also going to have a property for the max value, which is also going to be an int. All right. So now that I have that, I better add an init method for this, and I'll have pass me the max value as an int. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and set self.maxValue equal to max value. Okay, we'll come back to this one in a second. So there's our initializer. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by creating a function so the user can access our numbers. So they're going to pass me an index, which is going to be an int, and I'm going to return the actual corresponding lucky number. So this is going to be an accessor method for accessing our numbers array. So in this case, I'm just simply going to directly access my numbers array and return the index. Now I'm assuming here that index is a number between 0 and 5. So I could just allow the user to just access this array directly. Here I'm just here I'm just to have an accessor method that kind of makes things nice. So all right, good enough. So here's going to be the function that's going to be our secret recipe. This is going to be for picking a number. So you're going to pass me an index here of which number that you want to pick, and I'm going to go ahead and pick a new number and return it. And so here I'm assuming that index again is a number between 0 and 5. Right? So, all right. So the idea here is I'm going to pick a random number, and as long as it's not one of my current random numbers, then that's okay. If it is, then I'm going to make sure that I always pick a unique random number. So if I choose a random number and I've already picked that number, I'm going to go ahead and just try another random number again. So here there's many ways I could do this. I could just simply, here I'll create a Boolean flag, unique, if I can actually spell. They're unique, and and the final value is going to be put in, say, a local variable called value, which is going to be an int. So then I'm going to go ahead and just create a repeat loop, and I'm going to repeat while not unique, while I don't have a unique number. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick a new value, and I'm going to use the arc for random and uniform. Now it's not in Xcode's autocomplete because I got to do a few things to make the types happy. First of all, it expects a uint32. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it max val, which is just an int, and cast it to a uint32. So now what this will do is it'll pick a uniform integer between 0 and max value minus 1. Well, really what I want is I'm between 0 and say 40, whatever max value minus 1 is. So if max value is 49, this will pick a random number between 0 and 48. So I actually want a random number between 1 and max value. So I'm actually going to add 1 to this value. And I actually want to type the return value to an int. So I'm actually going to take the whole thing and return it as an int. So now I need to make sure that this value is unique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all my other values, and I don't know why it likes to indent like that. So then I'm going to say if numbers I is equal to value, then I'm going to go, I don't know why it keeps doing this. I'm going to say, I'm going to go ahead and say unique is equal to false. Oops. Unique is equal to false, and break out of the loop. And I make sure I'm going to set unique every time through the loop. I'm going to initialize unique to true. All right. Oops. There we go. All right. So so each time through the loop, I'm going to set unique to true, assume that my value is unique, pick a new random value between 1 and the maximum value. Then I'm going to see if that is indeed unique. I'm going to look at all the current 6 values, and if it's if I've used one of those values or whether I'm going to set my flag unique to false and break out of the loop, and which will cause this outer while loop to run again. So otherwise, if it is unique, I'm going to go ahead and set my numbers. I'm going to go ahead and set my current index equal to number. So I'm going to go ahead and modify my numbers array. So I'm going to set it to value, and then I'm going to go and return that new value. So there you can see that's sort of our magic recipe. And what is our error? Use of undeclared. Oh, yes, it's a capital int. All right. So, and then we're also going to need a number. I'm going to have a convenience method for picking all 6 new lucky numbers. So I'm going to call this pick all. And I'm just going to do something really simple. I'm just going to go through all 6 numbers and call pick. And I. Right, so that's just going to pick all unique numbers. Now, there's a couple other things here. If the user sets the maximum value to something different, I'm going to want to pick a new set of lucky numbers, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that whatever that max value is set, I'm going to make sure that when it's set, that I pick a new set of lucky numbers. So it's very nice and swift. So anytime anyone actually sets that property, I can have this other method run that'll automatically pick a new set of lucky numbers. That's pretty nice. Also, when we initialize our lucky numbers, we're going to want to pick a set of new numbers. Since this is an initializer, this will not trigger the did set. So I'm actually going to call pick all here too as well. Right? So that should pretty much do it for my model class at this point. So we need to create an instance of this class. We're just going to create a Singleton instance, and there's a couple places we can do it. I'm going to keep things simple. I'm just going to do this right in the view controller. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new instance variable called, I'm going to call this lucky numbers, and it's going to be of type lucky numbers, and which is now I'll get a little bit of an error because I don't have an initializer on this. So what I need to do is I need to create an initializer, but the actual one I want to use in this case is the one that initializes from the decoder. Now the reason I'm choosing this version of init is because this view controller is actually been serialized inside my storyboard, inside a nib file. So my object, my one view controller object, has already been created. So it's too late to call the normal init. So this is the init that gets called for deserializing an object out of the nib file. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. And then I'm going to go ahead and set my lucky numbers here. And for now, I'm just going to say lucky numbers, and I'm going to go ahead and just for now just hardwire it to the initial max value of 49, and that should handle that. Now we've got more errors here. Let's see, what's this one? Insert, yeah, max value. Okay, all right. And the other problem is this has to be required. Okay, so we'll set that to required. Okay, what else we got wrong here? Oh, I probably need to call these super init decoder and a decoder. Awesome. Okay, that should, okay, all right. So there we go. So when our controller gets loaded out of the nib file and deserialized, this init will get run. And it'll create our one Singleton instance of our lucky numbers object. All right. So now at this particular point, we've created all our view objects. Our controller has been created for us, and we've wired all the connections between our controller and our view objects. And now we've created our one Singleton model object. So in the next video, we'll actually have our app actually do something.